All right, welcome back. Today we're continuing our RBT exam practice question series. Just a reminder, we also have our new RBT exam series going on, which comes out every Monday. So be sure to check that out, where I'm going through a full RBT exam question by question and breaking them down in a similar fashion. So be sure to check those videos out. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're coming back, welcome back. I hope you're continuing to work and study hard. If you're looking for our study materials, please check out our website, rbtexamreview.com, or our shop at gumroad.com/rbtexamreview. You can also go directly to the study materials using one of these links, which I'll put in the comments and descriptions below. We offer 2 practice exams, a complete task list study guide. Our combo pack comes with everything and flashcards. It's our best deal. And then, of course, we have our competency study guide for both your initial and your renewal. So check those out. Please like and subscribe. That helps me out. That supports me so I can keep putting these videos out. Any questions, comments, leave them below or email me. I'm happy to help. Other than that, keep working hard and let's get to the questions. Okay, question 1. You conduct a reinforcer assessment and determine that Skittles function as a reinforcer for your client, but praise does not. If you wanted to fade edible reinforcers for praise, what procedure would you use? Okay, pretty common scenario where edibles might be the only thing that work as a reinforcer for your client. And for one reason or another, we want to fade the edibles to a more generalized reinforcer such as praise, right? Ultimately, that's our goal. Let a generalized reinforcer reinforce behavior. So when your client is in the natural environment, they're receiving reinforcement. So if you want to fade Skittles, okay, for praise, what would you do? A, give the client only Skittles when they engage in the correct response. That might reinforce the behavior, right? But is that doing anything to help you fade Skittles? No, right? B, give the client only praise when they engage in the correct response. Well, we know praise does not function as a reinforcer, so giving them praise for the correct response isn't going to have the reinforcing effect. So no behavior change will occur. Okay, so B is wrong as well. C, give the client praise half the time and Skittles the other half for correct responses. Again, in this scenario, now you're only reinforcing your client for half the responses, and the other half, they're not being reinforced. Remember, reinforcement and something to qualify as a reinforcer has to change the behavior. We know, given our scenario, praise is not a reinforcer at the time. So just delivering praise isn't going to do anything to the behavior. You can't fade the edible reinforcer for praise until praise is established as a reinforcer. So how do we make praise a reinforcer? Well, we give client praise and Skittles for correct responses. When we give those two things together, what are we doing? We're conditioning praise to be a reinforcer. So we're taking Skittles, which already functions as a reinforcer, okay, pairing that with praise, right? And we're conditioning praise to become a conditioned reinforcer. Remember, we have our unconditioned primary reinforcers, and then we have our conditioned reinforcers. Conditioned reinforcers are taking reinforcers and then pairing them with unconditioned stimuli to make a reinforcer. So if we want to establish praise, we need to pair praise with things that are already reinforcing to give them reinforcing properties. So to fade edibles for praise, you would have to give them both at the same time and establish praise as a reinforcer. Challenging question, okay, to start the day. So I hope you did okay on that one. If not, go review unconditioned and conditioned reinforcers. All right, last night the Milwaukee Bucks won the NBA championship. Giannis finished with 50 points and won MVP. If you wanted to track how many shots Giannis took last night, what would be the best form of measurement to use? Okay, so if you're a sports fan, sports are some of the best for measurement, okay? Because there are so many different things to measure in sports that it's a good way to practice different measurement systems. If you're not a sports fan, that's okay. Uh, look around you, okay? And there's so many things you can measure in your day-to-day life. And the advice I give is if you want to get good at the ABA, and at the RBT exam, You need to start applying these concepts to your day-to-day life, okay? Because that's all we're doing, right, is looking at human behavior. So in this case, we want to know how many shots did Giannis take last night? So the clear giveaway here is what? Is that how many, okay? What are we doing? We're looking for a total number. We're looking for a count. And when we're counting, what kind of measurement are we using? Are we using duration, frequency, latency, or IRT? Well, we're not using duration because that's time, right? Latency and IRT, they're also time, okay? So it has to be what? Frequency. All we want to know is how many shots Giannis took. So all we're going to do is count the number of shots Giannis took. We're going to get a frequency. Very easy question, okay? Very simple, straightforward measurement question. Again, start applying these concepts to everyday life, okay? All the concepts you're learning, and you're going to become much, much better at this. Okay, question 3. Tommy has a 45-minute commute each morning to work. He likes to drink his coffee and eat breakfast as he drives. Yesterday, he ordered and ate 2 sausage biscuits. After he ate the biscuits, he experienced extreme stomach pains for a couple of hours. Tommy no longer eats sausage biscuits during his ride to work. The stomach pain represents what? Okay, so we have a reinforcement and a punishment question. How do we approach these? Okay, if you've been following along with my videos, you should know this by now. How do we approach reinforcement and punishment questions? Well, you either start with did you add or take away? Did the behavior increase or decrease? Well, let's start with behavior. Did Tommy's behavior increase or decrease? Well, Tommy no longer eats sausage biscuits, so his behavior decreased, meaning we're looking for punishment, right? Punishment decreases. Did something get added or did something get taken away? Well, let's see. He ordered the biscuits, he ate the biscuits, and then he experienced stomach pain. So the stomach pain was added, positive, right? Tommy's behavior decreased, punishment, therefore positive punishment. If you've been watching this series and doing our exams, okay, this should be punishment reinforcement questions should be very simple by now, okay? All we're doing is breaking them down. Behavior increase or decrease, did we add or take away? Therefore, it's either positive or negative or reinforcement or punishment. Tommy gets stomach pains, no longer eats sausage biscuits. He experienced positive punishment. You're teaching receptive labels to your client. You lay out 3 animal picture cards in front of them and say, point to the tiger. If your client doesn't respond, you clear the cards and present them again, but put the picture of the tiger closer to the client and put the other 2 cards further away. You then say, point to the tiger. What type of prompt are you using? Okay, so we're looking at a scenario where you're teaching labels and you're using prompts, okay, to evoke the correct response. In this scenario, you've got a field of 3, and once your client incorrectly answers, you move one of the cards closer to the client and you move the other 2 cards further away. So, what type of prompt are you using? And the easy thing about prompts is the prompts are named and labeled exactly what they are. What I mean by that is a verbal prompt is exactly what it sounds like. You're giving a verbal, okay, cue or prompt to get the correct response. A physical prompt, you're physically guiding, okay, or evoking the response. A gestural response, you're pointing, okay. You're giving some sort of gesture, okay, to evoke the correct response. Um, a modeling prompt, you're modeling the correct response, okay. So, of course, a positional prompt would be what? Well, you're just positioning the stimuli to evoke the correct response. Okay. So, in that sense, prompting questions are very simple when they're asking what type of prompt, because the prompts are named for exactly what you're doing when delivering the prompt. So, if I'm moving the stimuli in a certain position, one's further or one's closer, and the other 2 are further away, what am I doing? I'm delivering a positional prompt. Okay. So you don't want to overcomplicate this stuff. Just because now we're doing ABA, uh, the words and the definitions don't change. Okay, they're just applied to our practice. But verbal and gestural and positional all still mean the same thing they've always meant, okay? Just in the context of prompts. Don't try to change the words, okay? Just apply them to ABA techniques, okay? So you are using a positional prompt in this scenario. Linda in RBT attends yoga every Friday with her friend Tammy. Tammy just found out her daughter has autism and wants her to start ABA. Tammy wants Linda to be her daughter's their RBT. Would it be okay for Linda to take the case? Okay, we have an ethical question. If you've been doing your ethical questions, you should alarm bell should be going off and you should be able to answer this question before you even looking at the answer choices. Okay. And you're going to get to that point with ethics questions because ethics questions are pretty straightforward for the most part on the RBT exam. Okay. They want a strong answer. They want a common sense answer, but they're always going to give you typically a scenario where you'll be able to figure it out fairly quickly. So in this situation, okay, Linda has her best friend Tammy, okay, or her friend Tammy, and Tammy wants Linda to be her daughter's RBT. Is that okay? Well, immediately you should be thinking, no, that's not okay. And why? What's the term? It would be a dual relationship. What's a dual relationship? When a professional and a personal relationship cross over, we have a dual relationship. Okay. So Tammy's daughter could go to Linda's company. Linda just couldn't work with the daughter. Okay. Linda already has a personal relationship with Tammy. She might already have a personal relationship with the daughter. Ethically, okay, it's not allowed. So no, that would represent a dual relationship. Always read all your answer choices. We want to have the best answer. Okay. The RBT exam is looking for the best answer. Read all your answer choices. So B, no, companies cannot accept personal friends as clients. They can accept personal friends. There's nothing wrong with that. But people working on the case should have no prior relationship with that person. C, yes, since Linda is not related to Tammy, it wouldn't be an issue. No, okay. A lot of times friendships are stronger than family relationships, right? So C is out. And then D, yes, as long as Linda remains professional. Ideally, this would be everybody's uh, answer, right? Because, oh, I'll make sure I'm professional, right? I won't let my personal relationship interfere. We just know that's not realistic. Okay. People are human, people are people. You don't know what's going to happen. Okay. Safer is better. No, that would represent a dual relationship. Linda could not work with Tammy's daughter. All right. Brit's BCBA wants their client to use complete sentences instead of individual words. Brit's client gives one word answers. Brit prompts 2 word answers and reinforces the client only for 2 word answers. The following week, Brit prompts phrases and only reinforces phrases. The following week, Brit prompts complete sentences and only reinforces complete sentences. What intervention is Brit using? All right, another one where if you've been studying, you might be able to answer this question, maybe not even before you finish reading the question. Okay, it's pretty straightforward. We're looking for some sort of intervention. Okay, and what is Brit doing? All right, she reinforces 1 word answers, and then she only reinforces 2 word answers, and then she only reinforces phrases, and then she only reinforces sentences. Okay, she's reinforcing what? Well, successful approximations of the behavior she wants to see. So bigger and bigger pieces of that whole behavior. And when we're reinforcing successful approximations, what are we doing? Are we probing? No, remember, probing, we're just asking to see what the client could do. We're just trying to determine a skill level. Okay. DRO, no, there's no differential reinforcement going on of other behavior. Okay. We're not reinforcing for the absence of a behavior or reinforcing for an actual behavior. Okay. So B is out. C, task chaining. No, there's no task chain. Okay. There's no sequence of steps for teaching. We are what? Shaping. Right. We're reinforcing approximations of our behavior. We're going from 1 word answers to 2 words to phrases to complete sentences. Okay. And we're only reinforcing complete sentences. Okay, so Brit is shaping up this behavior to go from these individual answers, these one words, okay, very, very simple, basic language, to complex, more complete sentences. Okay, so pretty easy intervention question. Okay, something you should be able to answer almost before you finish reading the question. Your client has five brothers and sisters. Mom reported that mornings are extremely hectic. She told you it would be a big help if your client would get out of bed immediately when his alarm went off. If you wanted to target this behavior, what measurement strategy would you most likely use? All right, think about our skill acquisition plan steps, right? Well, what are we doing? Well, we need to identify a behavior, we need to identify a goal, and we have to identify a measurement system. Okay, so that's what we're doing here. Our behavior is client getting out of bed. Our goal is client getting out of bed immediately. And now we want to identify a measurement strategy. So what are we going to measure? What are we trying to do? Okay, and this is when we get a little higher level with measurement. Okay, there's a reason we use certain measurement strategies, right? We're trying to increase stuff or decrease stuff. Okay, so in this case, what are we trying to decrease? We're trying to decrease the time between the client's alarm going off and the client getting out of bed. So what do we know? We need to know. We need to know how long that takes, right? How long in between the alarm going off and the client gets out of bed. Let's say it's 2 minutes, right? Now we want to reduce that to 5 seconds, right? What measurement will we use? Would we use rate? Well, no. Why not? Well, we're not counting anything. We're not counting how often the client gets out of bed. Okay, that wouldn't make any sense, right? Rate is out. Duration. Are we taking duration data? No, we're taking the the time in between our SD and our behavior, right? Duration, we're measuring one behavior. So if we were just saying how long does the client lay in bed, okay, with no other SD, then duration might be applicable, right? But there's a better measurement system to use. Okay. IRT, we're not measuring the time in between two responses. Okay, we're not measuring the time in between the first time getting out of bed, the second time, the third time, right? We're measuring the time from the SD, which is the alarm, to the client starting to get out of bed. When you're measuring the time from the SD to the response starting, what are you measuring? You're measuring latency. Our alarm goes off, 1 minute passes, client gets out of bed. Latency is 1 minute. We want to decrease that 1 minute. So we're taking latency data, trying to decrease latency from 1 minute to 30 seconds to 20 seconds to 5 seconds. Okay. That's why it's so important to pick the best measurement system available because it's going to guide your intervention and it's going to show us, is our intervention effective? Is it not? Okay. So the measurement strategy we would most likely use in this scenario is latency, the time in between the alarm going off and the client getting out of bed. You've been working on teaching your client escape language as a replacement for aggression. However, your client now uses escape language, like asking for a break, way too often. Last time you were with your client, you observed 18 instances of asking for a break during your 3-hour session. What was the rate of asking for a break? Okay, so common scenario, right? We want to teach appropriate ways for our clients to get out of things, okay, or get a break, okay, because a big issue with our clients is they lack communication skills. And instead, they're aggressive, they run away, okay, they cry, all these things that are not functional. Okay, so we give them functional language, but then they use the functional language too often. Okay, so we want to know how often exactly is your client asking for a break. They give you the measurement system. They want to know rate. What is rate? Rate is simply frequency over time, right? So once you have your frequency, you have your count. You've counted the number of instances of asking for a break, which is 18. To get rate, you just add a time component. So you have 3-hour sessions, okay? So how are you going to find rate? Well, you're going to put 18, which is your frequency, divided by 3, which is your time. And what do you get? you get 6 instances per hour. Okay, super straightforward math, right? Again, you get a calculator, you get pencil and paper on the exam. Shouldn't be nervous about these type of questions. Okay, all you're doing is doing a rate calculation. All right, again, 18 over 3, 18 divided by 3, right? 6 per hour. 18 per 3-hour session, 6 per 1 hour. Okay, and that's rate. Frequency and rate are often used interchangeably, but they do have a difference. Frequency is just a count, rate is your frequency divided by your time. Emily's client hates cleaning up their room. After an observation, Emily's BCBA recommends Emily to establish a contingency for the client cleaning up their room. Which of the following answer choices best describes Emily implementing the BCBA's recommendation? All right, so as an RBT, you'll be putting contingencies in place constantly, right? Remember, what is a contingency? Okay, ask yourself that. We want to know what describes Emily establishing a contingency. In order to answer that, we need to know what a contingency is. Okay, so before you answer the or go to the answer choices, ask yourself, what is a contingency? Okay, a contingency is an if-then statement. If you do this, then you do this. When you establish a contingency, that's what you're doing. If you do this task, then you get the reward. So let's find the answer choice that best describes that. A, Emily tells the client to clean their room. Once the client cleans their room, Emily praises them. So Emily did deliver something, but did she establish a contingency? No, she just said clean your room. She only gave the if. Okay, for it to be a contingency, there needs to be an if and a then. Okay, if Emily said, if you clean your room, I'll give you attention, that's a contingency. But Emily only delivered an SD with no contingency involved. So A is out. B, Emily tells the client, if you clean your room, you will earn $5. Perfect, right? If clean room, then earn $5. That is a contingency. That is Emily establishing a contingency. Read all your answer choices, no matter what. C, Emily hands the client $5 and says, okay, now you must clean your room. What does this represent? This is a bribe. When the then comes first, before the if, it's a bribe. Okay. The 5 is the then, the clean your room is the if. Okay. Once the client has the $5, there's no motivation to clean the room now. They need to do the if first, then they get the $5. C is simply a bribe. Emily is bribing the client to clean their room. We do not bribe. And then D, Emily makes a game out of cleaning up the client's room. Maybe that's one way to get them to do it, but that is not a contingency. That's just a strategy. Okay. So the best answer here is B. Emily tells the client, if you clean your room, you will earn $5. Okay, in the past, whenever Colin's iPad was taken away, Colin would flop to the floor and start crying. He would then be given the iPad back for a couple of minutes. If you were instructed to implement an extinction plan, what would you most likely be doing? Okay, so an extinction question. What do we know about extinction? Extinction is removing or stopping reinforcement for a previously reinforced behavior. So Colin's behavior, right, flopping to the floor and crying, resulted in getting the iPad back for a couple of minutes. If we want to put that behavior on extinction, what would we do? And that's what the question's asking. Okay, what is the most likely scenario, or what is the extinction plan most likely going to look like? Okay, so A, no longer taking away Colin's iPad. So an important thing to remember about extinction is if we prevent the behavior from happening that we're trying to put on extinction, we're not delivering extinction. In order for extinction to work and be effective, the client must be able to engage in the behavior you want to put on extinction. So if preventing Colin from engaging in behaviors, we'll never be able to put it on extinction. So A is out. Same with D, restrain Colin to prevent him from flopping to the floor. One, restraint, okay, should never be our first option. Two, if we're preventing Colin from engaging in behavior, how can we put that behavior on extinction? Okay, so A and D are out. B, when you present a task demand to Colin, follow through with the demand. Is Colin trying to escape a demand? What is the function here? When you're dealing with extinction, you have to ask yourself, what is the function? And most likely the function here is Colin getting the iPad, getting a tangible. Okay. So following through with the demand has nothing to do with this particular extinction scenario. You're not giving a demand, you're taking something away. Okay. Therefore, we need to do C. Whenever Colin engages in behavior in response to the iPad being taken away, do not give the iPad back to Colin. The iPad is the reinforcer, maintaining Colin's flopping to the floor and crying. If we're going to put on an extinction, we no longer deliver the reinforcement when Colin engages in behavior. Okay, that's textbook extinction. Very good extinction question here. Okay, go over this a few times. If you don't understand it, okay, it's going to give you a really good insight into how extinction functions, right? We want to know the function of the behavior. What are we withholding? What kind of reinforcement are we withholding for a behavior in order to put that behavior on extinction? In this case, it's an iPad. Okay. All right. So that'll do it for today. I hope you enjoyed those. I hope you did okay. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. I'm happy to help, or you can email me. Remember, check out our study materials at our website or our shop. We have two practice exams, a task list study guide, and a combo pack, which comes with everything, plus flashcards. As always, like and subscribe. I'll be back Friday and Sunday. When you do pass your exam, let us know. We'll give you a shout out. Other than that, keep working hard, and I will see you soon.